Do you have a dachshund and have questions on topics like training and nutrition? Do you want a dachshund and need help locating a breeder or finding a great rescue? Did you have a dachshund growing up and want to share some funny or heartwarming stories? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to the Wienerdog Lover Podcast, the place to be for all things dachshund. Welcome back, Wienerdog lovers. I'm very excited today to share the episode that we've got coming up. As some of you know, clearly my passion is for dachshunds, but I do have others as well, and I love both photography and reading. And today's guest is an author whose muse is a little dachshund with a big amount of sass. We all know that they have that in abundance. I've been pretty lucky in that department as for my dachshunds. My first dachshund, Sasha, who I had as my first adult dachshund, I guess on my own, was really quite calm. She was so easy to train. I took her outside and said, "This is where you potty." And she said, "I got it." She never chewed anything, and she really only barked at the doorbell. She was truly amazing. My current pack is a little bit more dachshund-like, except for Julian Goulian, and he really is the laziest dachshund you've probably ever met. He does enjoy walking, but not early in the morning when we do, and now that he's getting a little up in age, he's going to be 11 this May, he really doesn't enjoy walking the first little bit of our walk. So what I did is, to keep him involved in our walks, is I bought him a canine sport sack, and he absolutely loves it. You can check out the pictures of him and his sport sack in the shop highlight in our Instagram account. And just so you know, Canine Sport Sack is offering you 10% off if you use our code JulianK9, and that's all capitals, JULIANK and the 9. And if you use that, you'll get a 10% off your sport sack. And let me know if you get one, and I would love to see you use it and use the hashtag JulianK9 so that we can see your pups using theirs and we can highlight them on our Instagram account. Let's get to today's episode and hear how Kim went from corporate world to the publishing world along with her dachshund Ellie. Let's get into it. Welcome, Kim, to the Wienerdog Lover Podcast. I guess I'll start off, I'll do a little bit of introduction to myself, is that almost 20 years ago, my grandfather introduced me to the breed. He brought home a standard dachshund named Ralph, essentially a rescue before we even knew that rescue was a thing. I've been pretty much a Wienerdog lover ever since, therefore inspiring me, now leading me to do this podcast. And by the sounds of things, you have a similar muse named Ellie. So maybe you could just start off by sharing with us how you became a Wienerdog lover.
Sure, Lori. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your podcast. I appreciate that. Yes, Ellie the Wiener dog came into my life about 14 years ago. She was our first Wiener dog. My sister is actually the one that got us hooked on Wienerdog. We had Dobermans for years, and then she's the one that had this sassy little Wiener dog called Olivia. We couldn't get over how much attitude that little dog had. So when we looked at other breeds, when we were thinking maybe as we were growing older, we wanted to get a dog that was easier to travel with, not as big, we ended up getting a Wiener dog. And once you've had a Wiener dog, it's hard never to not have a Wiener dog, as you probably know.
Absolutely.
It's almost like you join a cult. So yes, 14 years ago, Ellie landed in my lap, and kind of unexpectedly, and became the muse for the Life's Little Lessons by Ellie the Wiener Dog short stories.
What type of Wiener dog is Ellie? Is she a standard, a mini, a smooth, a long hair, wire?
A black and tan standard. And we got her from a breeder down in San Diego area. We live in Southern California. We just went for a drive that day. We weren't planning on getting a dog, and we knew that the breeder did have one available that she was looking for a home for. So we just thought we'd stop by on our way to lunch, and ended up driving home with an 11-month-old black and tan standard dachshund sitting on my lap, trembling.
That's how it happens.
And it was a life-changing moment for sure. So she's become my ever steady companion since then. Everything Ellie now. So we do also have two other standard dachshunds now. Ellie's the senior. Then we have our middle child, Ruby, who is a red, and she's 7 years old. And then we have a 3-year-old black and tan, Pepper. So we have the the dog squad here.
I have a dog squad as well. I have three dachshunds, all rescue. I have a dad and a son. They're somewhat miniature, but a little on the bigger side in terms of their size, but not weight. And so Julian and Hardy are dad and son. And then I have my smooth red, who is Vinny, who's the baby. Can't just have one. I jokingly say it should be illegal, or it is illegal.
It definitely is. As I say, it's like you've joined a cult or something once you have one. And every time you see somebody with a wiener dog, it's like your long lost relative or something. Like, oh my gosh, it's a wiener dog. And it gives you a common ground to just start chatting.
You know, that's so true. I did a cross-country trip across Canada and the U.S. in 2013, 2014 in a camper van, and I took 3 dachshunds and my German Shepherd at the time, and it didn't matter where we went. We either met someone that had a dachshund or knew one growing up or wanted one. So they're very popular and very recognizable for sure.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And everybody points. I know just walking down the street, it's like, look, mommy, there's a wiener dog. It's always, a lot of times they don't even know the name of the official name of the breed. They just call them wiener dogs.
Absolutely. Now, getting into your series, were you an author prior to writing Life's Little Lessons series?
No, not at all. In fact, it came kind of out of the blue. My background is business and accounting. I had just, at the time that Ellie came into my life, I had just somewhat retired from my business job. I was CFO at our construction companies that we had. And I was going through kind of a change in life, and I didn't know exactly what I was going to be doing. So I started to turn back to kind of my creative side. I'd always liked poetry, painting. I ended up going back to school for photography, learned that. It just came out of the blue when I started writing all these little poems. When Ellie came into our life, we still had our Doberman Mickey. One of the things that I noticed so much was the contrast between the two, how the Doberman could easily see things. She listened so well. As you know, that's not a trait that dachshunds necessarily
that gene skips them. Yeah.
Exactly. So I started just writing all these cute little poems, just very Dr. Seuss style, about how hard it was for Ellie to be good, for Ellie to learn to swim, for Ellie to be small compared to the big dog. And the one day when I was writing one of them, I was just sitting there chuckling to myself, thinking these would be such good children's books, because she was going through so many things that children go through at the same time, the dealing with temptation and being afraid to try new things and so forth. That's when I started on the quest to, well, I wonder how you publish a children's book. That started me down a road that I never thought would be as long as it has ended up being. I was determined if I was going to do it, I wanted to have a children's book that was on par with any of the published books from the large publishing houses. I started out, how do you do this? And I ended up forming my own publishing company, Open Door Press, self-publishing, but actually I'm more like a combination between self-published and traditional publisher, although I did do my own publishing company. That's where it all kind of started and led from. And that was about 7 years ago that I started down this road.
Okay.
And it's still going.
So do you have other dog books or children's books that you have publishing through your publishing house?
Right now, we're concentrating just on the Ellie books. A very small publishing house, so I don't really have the capability of taking on other authors or any other books. There are additional books in the Ellie series that we have not released yet. We've been concentrating on kind of building the brand through. We're coming up with some other merchandise ideas and some educational ideas for kids so that Ellie can kind of become a study buddy and a learning companion for kids. That's what we've been concentrating on for the last year. So far we still just have the 2 published books, but within the next year, we're hoping that we might have additional books. And if not, then we're going to have additional merchandise and learning tools for kids.
So how many books are in the series right now then?
Right now, there's a total of, let's see here, 6, 7 books. We've got It's Hard to Be Good is out. It's Hard to Swim is the second book that is out now. Then we have It's Hard to Be Small. It's Hard to Share. it's hard to be me, it's hard to grow old, and it's hard to go potty.
That's definitely one that most of the Wieners should be reading. Actually, it's not so much hard to go potty, it's hard to go potty and where you want me to go.
Exactly. That's the premise of it, that, it's one of those that there's rewards in doing the right thing. Again, it's like, okay, if you do it the right way, you'll be happy. So, yeah. So those are the titles that are in the series that we still have to work on.
All of them are published at this point, or there's a couple that still aren't in what you just read? The ones you read are all published?
No, there's only 2 of those that are actually physically published and printed and available in the market. And that is Lesson 1, It's Hard to Be Good, and Lesson 2, It's Hard to Swim. So those 2 are available in the marketplace. And then we have the Ellie, the Wienerdog plush animal that is a great companion for the books that is available now. And then we're working on additional merchandise. The books take quite a while to develop, since we've been concentrating on some other aspects with the Ellie brand. We haven't been working as much on the book aspect of it as other things, but we do have all of the stories are written, and a couple of the books have the storyboards and illustrations, rough draft done. We'll be getting back to those as time goes by here.
Cool. So now you said something about working. Are you looking at doing some sort of workbooks, or actually going into the schools and working with kids with the Ellie brand of books?
Well, we've already done several. We will do author visits. Ellie actually comes with me, my real life little Ellie companion, and she's a super awesome hit in the classroom. We have that program that's available. We also have developed a teacher's guide for each of the books that we will be making available for educators and parents, that basically they have activities and lessons that can be incorporated into the classroom or an educational program that help to establish and help kids learn the moral of the story, being a good citizen, good behavior, rewarded, then trying new things, not being afraid to try new things for the swim book. So it's still a work in progress, but yes, we will have some very interesting educational things for the kids coming up.
That's great. Have you ever heard of Barbara Teckle? She has currently got 2 memoirs inspired by her dachshunds. And the first one was called Through Frankie's Eyes. And the second one is called Wisdom Found in the Paws. Her third one is coming out soon.
Oh, no, I haven't. I'll have to look that up for sure.
But Barbara Teckle, you'll really enjoy her books as well.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I'll definitely look that up for sure. For sure.
What is your process then for writing? For people who are maybe sitting down and looking at maybe their dog or their kids, and they want to maybe put together a little book for them or for others to be reading. What is your process? Do you have to, sit by yourself somewhere? Do you get your inspiration on a walk? How do you get the pen to paper, so to speak, or fingertips to laptop?
Right. With me, the originals always start with a pen and a paper. For me, that's just me. That's when things hit me. I find that I can't just sit down and force myself to write something. I have to feel it, very much like an artist. Like when you're inspired, it's like, okay, then sit down and do it. That's how it works personally for me. So one of the things that I have found helpful is to have a pad and a pen available all over the place. So I have it in the bathroom. I'll have it next to the bed. I have them virtually in each room of the house. So literally when something hits me, I pick up that pen and I write it down right away, because I find if I turn around and I walk out of that room and I think I'm going to remember and I come back and I can't, or it goes out of my head. That's just me personally. That's what works. I know that some other authors that maybe are more technology savvy, a lot of them will use their phone to do voice memos to themselves if they're thinking of something. I have done that when I've not had a pen or pad, but for me, the writing of the words down makes it real for me. And then from there, the process, depending on what somebody wants to do with it, there are a lot of options out there. I chose a rather difficult way by developing my own publishing company. In retrospect, looking back, would I have done it over? I'm not sure because that was quite a long process, a huge learning curve. But there are other available options out there for people who might have an idea for a story. There's one thing through Amazon that they have. It's called Kindle Direct Publishing, KDP, that is available for people who want to self-publish their book. And I personally have not used it, but I've known many authors who have. And Amazon will help you walk through the steps, and they will actually do the printing of a book for you. It's a good starting option for people to look into if they're interested in doing their own type of story. That's one thing that I can definitely recommend for people.
Awesome. Now, you did mention earlier you were talking about the illustrations. First of all, let's start with one. How did you decide on the color of Ellie? Because she is a purple wiener dog.
That's funny because I get asked that a lot, especially from the kids in classrooms. Like, why is Ellie purple? My kind of answer back to the kids right away is like, well, why not? And they're like, I don't know. When we started looking at colors for Ellie, I wanted to try to stay with something, because the real life Ellie is black and tan. I wanted to stay with something kind of, in that genre. I didn't want to make her neon or whatever. When we started looking at the colors, we thought, well, there's already a red dog. So we know that we are not going to do a red dog. Then we did some testing with Ellie, kind of trying to make her look like black and tan. And it just wasn't fun. She wasn't fun enough, because we knew that Ellie was going to have lots of sass and lots of personality. And these were children's books. And so we went towards the blues. We looked at black and then we're kind of like, okay, well, where can we go with this? Which direction can we go? Well, we went towards the blues, and then we thought, no, we didn't really like that. And so we just started adding, okay, well, let's sway her towards purple. And we're like, oh, giving some sass there. It was just through a series of experimentations with my illustrator, which Shireen Wyatt is the most amazing, fantastic, talented, creative person. And I'm so fortunate to have found her. So she's kind of my confidant and partner in everything Ellie that we do.
That's awesome. I agree. It really does. When you say it like that, it totally makes sense that she has a little sass, because purple definitely gives that illusion of sass. I love it.
Yeah. Even though Ellie is Ellie's a female dog, we wanted to kind of keep her neutral, gender neutral too, so that she would appeal to both boys and girls. So we didn't want to make her too feminine, and we didn't want to make her too masculine. Again, purple just seemed kind of like the color that was the uniting of red and blue, basically. That's kind of another thing that we thought of with when choosing the color purple.
That's great. Did you say the other two are both girls?
The other two dogs are both girls. Yes. We've got Pepper is the youngest, and then Ruby, she's a red, so she's the middle sister.
Now, do they ever get jealous that they don't have a book?
It's funny because Yes, I do believe so. And I'll say that because I do know with little Ruby, the middle child, she has all of the issues of a middle child syndrome with, why isn't it me? I want to be the one that goes to the school. I'll be good. I'll do that. What do you want me to do? We try to include her as much as possible with other things. And I actually have a rough draft of a little story with Ruby that hasn't been completed yet. We might be introducing, one of the things that we're talking about with Ellie is starting to introduce some other characters as we're moving through with the books, and also with some of the social media posts, and that we'd like to start bringing in maybe Ellie's little sisters and introducing some new friends of Ellie that we can expand with.
Which would be great, because that's also opens up a whole lot of different kinds of learning as well for kids with dealing with siblings.
Exactly. And that's actually where the story of It's Hard to Share, that's where it came from, was when the little sibling comes into the family, and all of a sudden it's like, well, hey, I don't want to share my toys. I don't want to share my treats. It's like, but then through the process of learning to share and actually doing it, they learn the joy that comes from building a friendship when you share. That was the premise of, or is the premise of that book, based on when a new little sibling, even though it was a puppy dog, came into our life. But again, kids can relate to that.
Awesome. Now, do you do events other than taking Ellie to schools? Do you attend any of the dachshund events and things like that with her?
Yes. Yes, we do. There's a really great local group here that has an event twice a year. It's the Temecula Valley Dachshund Club, and the proceeds from the event benefit several different dachshund rescues in Southern California. And we participate in every one of they do a spring event, which is the Wienerdogs in Wine event, and it's held at one of the local wineries here. So that's a big hit. And then they also do a fall festival, which is coming up in November again this year. And it's the fall Wienerdog Fest in Temecula, California. And we'll participate. We have a booth there where people can come and meet the real life Ellie. We also have her siblings there. So Ruby and Pepper get lots of love and attention. And then we have the books. And if anybody purchases a book or a plush or whatever, then we autograph it. And all of the books at those events are actually potographed by the real life Miss Ellie herself.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We've kind of spoken about it. Clearly, our little dachshunds teach us something new almost every day. And you're sharing that with children, and it inspired you to take it to another level in terms of writing a book. When you started, was that your intent, was to work with educating kids, or did you just start with wanting to get that story out?
It started with just wanting to get the story out and not really knowing where it was going to go. I knew that they were designed for kids because of the simple rhymes, and the story premise for each of them just reminded me of what kids go through as they're growing up. And it was what Ellie was experiencing as she went through all of these things. The first book, It's Hard to Be Good, was actually inspired by, we call it the trash compactor incident. She broke into our trash compactor, and it was the worst mess ever. And afterwards, she felt so badly for having given in to the temptation that's where that whole book came from. So each of the stories that I wrote came from a little incident. Somehow I just knew that they needed to be a book, a storybook that kids would learn this lesson from. It didn't develop into a big educational, that's not what my vision was. So it started off small, and it just continued to grow and develop. And it's continuing to do that as we move forward now. It keeps evolving. I'm not sure where it's actually going to end up going, but I did know that kids would relate to a purple wiener dog who has the same type of issues that they deal with on a regular basis, that they can learn lessons from.
That's great. Where is the best place for people to get a hold of your books?
The books are available wherever books are sold in the United States, Canada. They're also available internationally. They're available on Amazon through either the Canadian or American. I have full distribution on the book. So basically, if they're not in your bookstore, your local bookstore, you can order them. They're also available wherever books are sold and on Amazon everywhere. They can find them anywhere.
Okay, and then if someone is interested in getting some of your merchandise, where should they go for that?
The merchandise is available on our website, which we are updating our website right now, and within the next 60 days, we'll have a new website available with additional new merchandise just in time for the holidays. But right now, they can go to our current website. It's elliethewienerdog.com or opendoorpress.com. The publishing website also has the merchandise on it. They can order there. The only thing right now is for the merchandise, we're currently only distributing in the U.S., but we're hoping to expand that again within the next 6 to 8 months. That will be available outside of the U.S., but right now that's where we're currently available for merchandise.
All right, perfect. So now, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you want to make sure that we share with the listeners?
just to let them know that if they have an idea or a vision that they might want to do sometime on their own, to just go ahead with it. Because I have a little plaque that sits on my kitchen counter that I look at every morning when I'm feeding the dog that says, what would you attempt if you knew you could not fail? Every morning when I would look at that, as I kept thinking of writing the books and developing them into books, I would read that to myself every morning, and my answer was always, publish the Wienerdog books, publish the Wienerdog books, publish the Wienerdog books. That was always my answer to that question. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know process, but I just kept going. And so that would be my encouragement for others too, that might have a dream that they think is kind of different or something that they can't stop thinking about, is to just take that step and do it. Let your muse speak for you, and you'll find your way.
I like that. Let your muse speak for you. That's a great line. Now, one last question for you then. You have been inspired by Ellie, but what have you learned maybe as your biggest life lesson from Ellie that you haven't maybe put into a book yet? That's maybe not necessarily, doesn't have to be directed at kids, but something that you yourself have learned from her.
I've learned from her to, it's funny that you say that, because I have written myself a little poem about the lessons that she taught me. And those literally are to just take some time to enjoy the day and live so much in the moment, because I tend to be the type of person that is always have too many irons in the fire and always trying to do too much, and there's never enough time in a day. But I literally, especially as Ellie has gotten older now, and being 14, she's still doing okay, but I see her slowing down, and it makes me realize that this time that I have with her right now is very, very, very precious. And that if I don't take time each day to just stop and enjoy our moments together, that those moments are going to be gone, and everything else can just kind of wait. That's the biggest lesson, I guess, that she's taught me, is just to step back and enjoy the moment. Everything else can wait, that you do need to just take time to live in the moment and enjoy the day. Smile at the day.
Perfect. That's the best way to end. I'm smiling and enjoying my day for sure. Thank you so much, Kim. This was really good. I'm so glad we were able to touch base and to share your story and Ellie's story. And hopefully people will get out there and take a look at her books and use them with their kids and share them with their friends.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me today, Lori. I appreciate it.
I enjoyed chatting with Kim and hope you really enjoyed it as well. I know it's one of my goals is to write a book. What I took away is let your muse speak for you and you will find your way. Let me know if you have a muse or a dream that was inspired by your Dachshund. Send me an email, and you never know, maybe you'll be our next interview. If you have a Wienerdog story, an event, or a topic you'd like to see us cover, send an email, bark@wienerdoglover.com. Follow us on Instagram, wiener_dog_lover_, or Twitter @lovingwienerdog, or find us on Facebook, Wienerdog Lover. Never miss an episode. Head on over to wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, and you'll be notified every time we put out a new podcast. I'd also be grateful if you would leave us a review. Until next time, Wienerdog lovers, this is Lori, Sheba, and the Wieners signing off.